Alright, so we saw what the in-sprint automation or in-sprint testing looks like. Now let's look at what are the different activities that are part of in-sprint testing in terms of manual test team as well as automation test team, and what are the different activities at each stage, right? So what we have here, essentially a sprint has three different phases: a planning phase, execution phase, and the certification and retrospections phase. Where the planning is essentially 30% of your time during the sprint, 60% is execution, and 10% is during your retrospection of the sprint. So when we are doing the planning, there are different activities for each team, manual team as well as an automation team, during this in-sprint testing. And once we have our user stories, my manual team will start writing or review those user stories and start writing acceptance criteria or BDDs for those. And at the same time, my automation team is also reviewing the user stories and assessing the BDDs written by my manual team, as well as they also assess what are the reusable components that can be used as part of this new user stories or new BDDs that my manual team has written. The manual team is also writing or creating test data that can be consumed by my automation team as part of their automation. And also my automation team can continue working on the changes in my automation framework. Say, once that planning is done, we come to the execution phase where my manual team is doing manual executions since my automation is not completely developed, and my automation is still building up. Until that time, I am doing some manual execution, as well as my during this time some level of automation is already built up and my manual team is running that regression. And this in-sprint BDDs are created by my automation team at the same time and integrating it with my CI or continuous integration environment, so that as and when there is a build, my in-sprint automation kicks in and helps me run that automation against that newer build. Whereas my manual team is testing and executing those in-sprint BDDs just to validate whether my automation is good to go or not. And then we have this whole entire retrospection phase, which is a very important phase where we are promoting the in-sprint BDDs which are created by manual team as well as automation team to my regression, since they are all good to go now. So every time my regression runs, my in-sprint BDDs are ready to go, as well as I update my regression suite with those in-sprint BDDs. I also remove or refactor my BDDs to include them into regression, as well as any unfinished BDDs, I move it back to our backlog. So there's our part of our backlog sprints. And then we do the gap analysis between the planned automation and achieved automation. And this is the whole enchilada of different activities during this whole in-sprint testing that we are talking about. And in the next videos, we'll talk about how we can leverage BDD to get to in-sprint testing. Thank you and stay tuned.